Game of Thrones kicks ass in the ratings. Yoren gets a pain in the neck. Shay gets a job. Pycelle gets a close shave. And we have the guy who wrote the episode. This is stupid for Game of Thrones. Woo!
Yes.
Yes.
That's meant to represent the studio audience.
I'm Sarah Penna. Welcome back. This is my co-host, Bob Jennings.
AKA Bob Jens.
As you see on his
Oh,
shirt.
Shay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Rockstar logo. What's going on?
Boof.
It's not about me.
That's exciting.
Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and like us on Facebook. We're putting lots of great content out there throughout the week. So when you miss us throughout the week, you can go there and check in with us and hear everything, all the news that's going on with Game of Thrones. So today we have the writer from last week's episode, What is Dead May Never Die, Bryan Cogman.
Thank you.
This was an awesome episode.
It was. Thank you for being here.
Thank
Bryan.
you.
I
Thank
really appreciate
you
it.
for having me.
Yeah. Why don't you just? I mean, the episode. I'm just gonna say it. I think it was probably the best episode ever of Game of Thrones, and I'm only saying
Wow.
it because you're here. No, I'm just
Wow.
kidding.
That's good.
It really was. There's so much information. I can't wait to get
That's
into
amazing.
this.
Yeah.
Thank
Because
you.
it was a huge, huge episode. And not only do I feel like we dive right into season 2 with all the great setups.
Yeah.
You know, we're ready to rock. But if you read the books, there was a lot of information compressed into one.
Yeah, and I thought it was compressed, but we didn't lose anything.
Nothing.
So we really would love to
Great.
hear
That's
about.
the trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing.
Can we
And,
talk about
you
his
know,
crazy throne first?
Oh yes.
yeah.
Well, this is clearly a Lannister. You guys have really
We-
pledged your allegiance.
He brought it with
Kind
him.
of.
Yeah, we didn't.
He brought his own throne.
Listen. No, I'm a Frey man. No, I don't know.
Whoa.
No, I don't know who I'm allied with. Probably the Starks.
Can you
Yeah.
take?
Sorry.
Are you allowed
Yeah.
to take? You can take a side.
I feel. I don't know. I am. Today. I'm going.
Oh,
I
geez,
think
it's an
the
exclusive.
Starks. That's really unimaginative, but you know.
No,
That's
I
fine.
think it's great.
Yeah, I mean,
I think in the
I
end,
love
it's
that.
you know about this family that's been torn apart.
And I'll just say something real quick. If you look right now, we've added this new thing. Wait, this side. There you go. Down the side, you can follow us along. If you see, you're going to see news and then different things we're going to cover during the
More
show.
graphics.
Oh, there's graphics
Yes,
on
we've
the
got
screen.
a sidebar.
Which
Right.
So if you're not watching
This
live,
way?
you can click annotation. You go, I want to skip all this stuff. I want to hit news, click it right
Like
now.
right
you go to
now.
the news.
Yeah,
We're
like,
completely
you're
boring,
really
so
gonna
skip
wanna-
all of this.
Which
I'm
indicates we
bored
should
right
probably
now.
get to the news, maybe.
All right, the news.
News.
Oh,
Lord.
I
You
saved
saved
you.
his life.
You did.
Totally did. This thing was-
This is whoa, now we're putting it on the floor.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Perch him up there.
Let's do this right.
All right.
Okay, so our first item of news is Game of Thrones got renewed for a 3rd season.
All right.
Yes.
You have a job still.
I do. Well,
You gotta go back to
we
Ireland.
think. They may not ask me back, but
Oh.
at least the show's coming. Yes,
Well.
I get to go back to Northern Ireland, which, my second home for the better part of, 3 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, incredible.
What was it? What were the differences between last season and this season in terms of locations? I mean, I think a lot of chatter has been going on about
Well-
the locations are incredible this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think we sort of took it to another level, definitely. I say, like I was scouting the location.
Right.
This will be Dragonstone. Make it happen. We shot Northern Ireland for the first and second season. This year, King's Landing and all of Danny's storyline, we shot in Croatia, in Dubrovnik and the surrounding areas. And Jon Snow's storyline, starting in his next episode, will be Iceland.
And where were they
Yeah.
in the last couple?
That was Northern Ireland. That was a set.
Okay.
That was a beautiful, incredible set that Gemma Jackson and her team put up.
amazing.
Oh, I mean, she's one of the great heroes of the show. Absolutely.
Yeah, I
mean,
think it's what's interesting about the show this year is that it's, I don't know if you guys have noticed in the last few weeks, it's sort of crossing over as the HBO show now. I think it's sort of going to usurp True Blood as the sort of signature show, which is good.
I
good
mean,
stuff.
maybe.
Good job, Bryan Cogman.
Well, yes, it was all me.
But like it's crossed over from like just super geeks to like people, the lay people.
Yeah.
Like my friend's mom watches.
No, yeah, like
Yeah,
my
type.
parents and their friends are watching and reading the books too, which I would never have.
My entire family read the
Yeah.
whole books after I did. So it was.
Yeah, I think that's the trick, is trying to make it, palatable to people who would never read a book with the word Thrones in the title.
Sure.
Right.
And also to people who enjoy the books, and it's a very tricky thing to balance. I think we usually pull it off, but you never know.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, how you ended up working on the show?
I was an actor. I guess I still am an actor. I haven't. I mean, I sort of fell into this. So
You have a great American accent, by the way.
yes, I'm actually from Russia. This
Well
is
done.
this is an accent to feel at home in my home country. So no. My wife was David Benioff's nanny.
No kidding.
Or David Benioff's child's nanny, not David's.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so when we first moved out here many years ago, and I was sitting, in the living room when we were babysitting, writing something, and he noticed, and
you just
and I didn't do it on
well.
purpose. I swear, I wasn't like, oh, this. I'm just.
Is he coming over?
Yeah, right. And he, was really encouraging and opened a few doors for me there. And then when the pilot came around, I joined as he and Dan's assistant, and it sort of snowballed from there. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting for those that don't know. You have a role that's not just as a writer, but as the story editor, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And
well, that's sort of the title they give me at
That's
a
the title they
certain,
give
a certain
you?
pay grade.
Okay, so I was told. Yeah,
Next year, I'm executive story editor, which I guess implies
It implies a $20 raise.
it implies underlings that I don't have.
Oh, right.
I'm still the lowest on the totem pole, but executive. So
Well, hey.
maybe I'll have
Titles are everything.
maybe I'll have
Titles are
pens or some kind of executive desk. I don't know.
But does a certain duties with that title? Is it just a title, or are there certain duties fall to you to sort of stay true to the books and things like
Well,
that?
on every show is different. I mean, my role on the show since the beginning has been to sort of keep track of the mythology for.
The keeper of the mythos.
Yes, the keeper of the mythos, which
Wow.
someone
I have
coined
heard.
online. Yeah.
It's in our notes. Thank you, Elaine.
And that just happened by accident. When I was assisting on the pilot, I thought, the directors and designers were coming in, and I thought, it might be helpful because the backstory is so huge. Maybe if I did like a timeline of what happened during the rebellion, it might help, because that's sort of the main thing you need to kind of know about when you're coming in. So I did a little timeline, and gave it to the various people, and they went, oh, this is great. And so before I knew it, I was doing documents about the religions and the various geographies, the different land masses and history and all kinds of stuff. And
Sure.
and then we had this, this thing, and
Is it the show Bible?
it's the show Bible,
Yeah.
basically, yeah, and that's what I sort of still maintain. So I sort of became the quote-unquote expert on the show just by default, because I kept reading the books and
You wield power like a jerk.
Oh yeah.
Like that was not historically accurate.
I cut. No.
Direct, you just slap him in the face.
No, I wish.
You got it wrong, buddy.
Yeah. I'll say, Sean, one more time, and we're killing you off.
Right.
And
I like the
And
attitude.
that's what happened.
he pronounced Meister wrong one too many times. And I was like, you know what? Patriot Games.
See you later.
Fuck you.
Bye,
No, but
Boromir.
excuse me.
It's okay.
My mother-in-law's gonna watch this. And
Oh.
my wife's gonna kill me. Sorry. I'm sorry.
So might be a good moment to go into crowning moments, where we can talk about some of our favorite.
Well, the episode.
Oh,
an episode. Great.
Let's talk about the episode you actually wrote.
Okay.
Yes.
Crowning moments.
Crowning moments.
Is there a graphic?
There's a graphic.
We did.
Oh wow.
We did it.
The graphic.
It's
You've
done.
already done it? We're back from graphic.
That was.
There's a sidebar switch to crowning moment.
That's pretty rad.
I felt
Here we are.
nothing. I thought something would,
Yeah.
Well,
You thought a little crown
next
away.
time.
a little disappointing.
Yeah, we should have if we have a little crown come down from the ceiling.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Next
That's
time,
all
rig it
right.
up. We'll rig it
Right
up.
next time when another guest is here.
Well, let's talk about the ratings real quick. It's saying, what do we got here? Another high ratings episode matching
Hey,
last
we
week's
did okay.
3.8 million views.
Yeah.
Yes, steady.
And a total
Steady.
4.5 across the 2 runs, which is awesome. And it's growing and growing and growing. So
Thank you.
Congratulations on that.
We'll see. We'll see if it drops a lot next week. We'll know.
As a writer,
No
do you
way.
get,
We'll
do you
know
get
who to blame.
competitive? Do you get competitive with the other writers to see, hey, mine got a 3.8?
Well, the other writers are my 2 bosses and Vanessa, they're all my bosses. So no.
no.
Suckers.
No.
No. There's only 4 of us.
there's
So
only
and
4
George
writers,
and George.
right,
You
yeah.
know,
Right.
I'm not gonna be like, hey, George.
Hey,
See
George,
those-
you totally screwed
see
up.
those
with the plot. We
numbers?
would've done it this way.
Right.
I think
so,
there should be a purple dragon.
Right.
So, do you have a favorite moment of this episode that you wrote?
Yes,
Yeah.
you know what? My favorite moment in this episode is one that has no dialogue. It's the scene where I'm assuming people watching this have.
Yes.
Okay, we can be spoily.
Yeah.
Is the scene where Theon burns the letter the warning to Robb.
Super smart.
I'm very proud of that moment. That wasn't something that existed in our initial outline, and it was something that sort of came to me when we were writing it. And I love those scenes that don't require any dialogue. That I mean, it helps when your actor is so brilliant and your director and everybody. I mean, I didn't.
Did anybody else pause it and read the note? I did.
Yes.
Of course,
yes.
And it was awesome. It's like I always kind of wanted it. It visually explained what in the books takes a long time to explain about his guilt and things like that.
Yeah, and that's something that we brought a little more. I mean, in the books, there certainly is some guilt, but I don't think it's as difficult a choice as our Theon.
Well, it's a little more. It's a little subtler. You don't really see that moment where he. I think the burning is so representative of that.
Yeah,
that moment where he.
And it literally is a choice.
Well, I think it's a bigger deal in the. I mean, when we cast Alfie, I remember when we were shooting the pilot, the Direwolf discovery scene, and I remember very specifically we saw Kit and Richard and Alfie kind of hanging out, and we realized they seem of an age. For one thing, Theon's older in the books, and Alfie doesn't look older or seem older than Rich. So we thought, okay, we're gonna make Theon 17, same age as Jon and Robb, and make it more of a brother relationship between Robb and Theon. And I think it does pay off. And so I was excited in this episode to explore what that means. But yeah, that little note's framed. I have it framed.
Oh,
did you? Oh yeah, I grabbed it because that's not the one he burns. He burned a whole bunch of prop ones, but the one on the table with the close-up, that's framed on.
What did it say?
On my
I
wall.
some of it, but.
Well, he wrote it.
What did it say? Robb, I hope this reaches you in time. My father's going to. Yeah, my father's directed. We're going to attack Deepwood Moat to mobilize her as soon as you can, and I'll something like I'll send word as soon as I'm able to, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, and I like that the brotherly relationship. It makes it that much more heartbreaking when
it was
decides not to.
Yeah, it was a fun thing to explore, and Alfie has just, I mean, and you're gonna see as the season goes on, he really just hit it out of the park this year. Oh man,
he's incredible.
I mean, he took this season by the horns and just, I mean, I'm so proud of him. He's an incredible actor, really great guy. The whole cast is.
Because his character is undergoing some transformations in these last from last season.
Yeah,
well, I would say that that's the moment though. I mean, his father gave him a choice. Just like decide.
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
Let's talk about the name change.
Oh, well. Do we have to?
No, we don't have to. Obviously does not want to talk about the name change.
It's well documented why
No, why though? We were kind of speculating.
It was the OSHA
thing. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I mean, it's
I think it makes
fair
a lot
enough.
of sense.
Good. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad you.
We can transition to another little controversy you probably don't want to talk about.
Sure. Let's talk about all the controversies.
Yes, I came in to get my headache.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones people.
No, what?
No, just the scene with Renly and Loras and just how it's sort of more pronounced, I guess.
Oh, is that controversial?
Well, I didn't think it was.
This isn't the shaving one you're talking about. This is the one in my episode?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, to me, it felt very representative.
Yeah, I mean,
but people were saying
they're lovers, so they're making out.
In the book, and
yeah, it's look. I mean, you're right. There are certain things in the books that are implied, and that's certainly Renly and Loras' relationship is hinted at. Another thing that is implied is that maybe Craster is sacrificing his sons to something, and we obviously made the choice to show that yes, he is sacrificing to them, and the White Walkers are grabbing them. I think that's one of the fun things about doing the show is you can break the POV nature of the books and go behind closed doors, and I think we just figured it was a fascinating relationship to explore in this kind of world. This closeted homosexual relationship. And what was fun for me in the writing of it was I think this is the first time we're going to have a brother pimp his sister out to his gay lover.
Right.
Which is, I've never seen that on TV, and I wanted it to.
Yeah.
I wanted that to happen. So
there's a lot of brothers.
So that was fun. Yeah, I mean, and it's political, and I think we thought that was a fun thing to explore, and they're. But it's true, George, Renly's gay. So.
Yeah,
it's pretty obvious.
Sorry if that bothers anybody, but he's gay and he's gonna make out with his boyfriend.
It is HBO, so
it's not, and I mean that's one of our more chaste sex scenes, frankly.
Right?
I mean, you know.
It's getting pretty crazy with the sex. It's pretty, but every time most people watch it.
It's
part of the
crazy
fun
in the
to watch
book,
for it.
too.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's the other.
explicit in
Yeah, I
the
mean,
book.
look, the whole sex position thing I think is getting a little overblown.
Sure.
I think
and frankly, I don't think there's plenty of gratuitous sex this year, but not
But
much
to
sex
me,
position.
I don't think it's
think-
gratuitous because I think it's.
Well, thank you.
See, that's what I said.
The sex position thing. Hold on, my
See,
yes.
sex
I said the
position
sex
is exposition.
Didn't seem as much this year. It seemed like there's some sex.
Well, the problem is now the term is being used wrong. Everyone's like, there was a sex position scene. I'm like, no. It's only if you're getting backstory exposition
That's what I said.
during a sex act.
Right.
A scene where characters are engaged in sexual behavior and are talking isn't sex position.
Right.
Yeah.
If that was the case, then all sex scenes would just be people having sex without talking. Or,
true.
do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm pleading with you all. Please don't use the term
Just don't.
wrong.
Google it.
You know.
I like Marjorie in this episode as well because
Oh, good, yeah. Natalie's
her
amazing.
character really is more developed, I think, in the earlier on.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a different. It's certainly a different take.
You start seeing her kind of.
Yeah, I mean, she's
nature.
sort of.
She's established herself as a player, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or somebody who's going to be a rival.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, and then we're bringing some things in from future books a little
Yeah,
up front, for a lot of different reasons.
The introduction
Yeah.
scene for Brienne. And
Oh,
what's
that was
wait,
so much.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Wait, there is one Marjorie question, kind of.
Oh,
from
Marjorie.
the chat
I was
room.
gonna tie it all
from
together.
the.
Oh, yeah,
you wanna
from
tie it
the-
together?
From the.
Go ahead, go
Want to go
for
to
it.
chat room first?
Yeah,
All right. Chat room.
Uh-oh.
Viking GQ6.
Viking GQ6.
Yes, Viking GQ6 from
Okay.
YouTube chat room right now live.
Yes.
Was the decision to have Marjorie more of an Anne Boleyn type taken from before or after casting Natalie?
Before. It
All
was
right.
just a happy coincidence.
So
that
she was
we
in the
then
Tudors,
cast,
is that correct?
Anne Boleyn from the.
Didn't she play that?
Yeah.
Yes, that was a thing in the writers' room that we decided to do, and then Natalie
Right.
came in.
Now
and-
tie it in.
and was amazing.
Well, I was just gonna start from that scene. There's a lot going on in the introduction of the Brienne scene, and then
Yes.
Catelyn comes in,
Yeah.
and the dialogue in this particular it just sets the episode like on fire.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean?
I'm glad.
Yeah, let's show Brienne the actress. You
She's
guys,
Or we
couldn't
showed
cast her better.
Gwendolyn Christie.
Gwendolyn Christie.
Yeah.
And Gwen,
There
I
she
mean,
is.
she's one of those that kind of leapt from out of the book and onto the screen.
Yes.
They're really, and I love all of our actors, but some of them have made the characters a little different from, say, the book just by the nature of who they are, and that's great too. But there are some who, Conleth Hills Varys is another one, who just leapt from what I imagined them to be. And so Gwendolyn's incredible, absolutely incredible. And you ain't seen nothing yet with her. I mean,
Right.
she's,
Oh yeah,
That's great.
we love
Thanks again,
her.
Mia.
and I was
What is going on
thrilled.
back there?
I was thrilled to be able to write her introduction scene. I was
Yeah,
just
she's-
I was so excited.
I want to ask you a question about that.
Yeah.
Great introductions are probably one of the most fun things to write.
Sure.
That one was sort of served up on a tee.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, this one is like
And-
this is someone you're going to pay attention to.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
and,
yeah. Absolutely.
And it's such a great, because we know who Loras is,
yeah.
and he's feeling embarrassed, but the dialogue between Renly and Brienne, and
Yeah.
then it goes smoothly right into Catelyn.
Oh, good. I'm glad
I
it was
mean-
smooth. It was hard. That was
Yeah,
one of those
That
that
is
was
a
a
tough scene
yeah.
to write,
Yeah.
and, it's,
Oh,
and
thank you.
it just feels like it blows right by.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Yeah, that was fun. I mean, it was one of those where I wished, the in the book they're on horses, and even
Yeah.
my first draft I had them on horses, and I thought this is not gonna,
Yeah.
this is gonna get cut, but I'm gonna write it anyway, and sure enough, and it's just that's a matter of time. It takes a very long time to shoot that kind of a
Right.
Yeah.
sequence, and
So
we
you
have
save
we
money.
have we have so little time to do this, and in fact that scene we shot a few minutes of. I think we shot Kat's reaction shots on one day, and the set blew away.
Oh, man.
And
What?
so we had to come back, weeks and weeks and weeks later and shoot the rest of it.
Wow.
That was a crazy, crazy day.
What time of year were you shooting up there?
Oh, gosh, I don't even remember what time of year that was. I mean, we shoot generally from the midsummer into fall.
Gotcha.
I don't remember. I mean, it doesn't matter. In Belfast, it'll be rainy and windy.
Right.
You know.
That was summer.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's a wait
Beautiful.
10 minutes kind of place. I
Right,
mean,
right.
Yeah.
it's beautiful and sunny, and then it's overcast in about 15 minutes. It's very difficult. It's,
Well, and that
you
scene
know.
had one of my favorite lines, the Catelyn line of "My son is fighting a war, not playing one."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that directly from the book?
It's
or-
a little. In the book,
bit-
I think it's a little. In the book, it's my son is fighting a war, not playing at tourney,
Right.
which we sort of tweaked it a bit
Sure.
to.
It worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's.
because
it's
she's just, she's setting
oh, well, that's one of those
herself up,
Michelle
but-
Fairley. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
you know, she knows how to deliver those zingers.
Oh yeah.
We've got some more
pretty
YouTube
well.
chat room.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
YouTube chat room.
A plethora of questions.
Uh-oh.
Let's
Yikes.
we'll try to relate to what you guys are talking about, and then we'll come back to other
Yeah,
ones.
sure.
It was such a great episode.
Thank you.
Goatbed13 says.
Who's this? Who said this?
Goatbed13.
Goatbed 13.
Subscribe now.
Goatbed.
Goatbed13.
Thanks, Goatbed.
It's
I
such a
could
great
ask about
episode.
where that came from.
My favorite moments, Brienne of Tarth introduction and a brief conversation with Lady Catelyn, also Arya and Yoren.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
can't.
Let's save that.
Are we saving that?
Yeah, we can get.
Oh, I guess
Oh,
not.
for
You can
saving
talk
that.
what you
No,
want.
Well, no, I can't take full credit for that. That, you know, David and Dan wrote that amazing monologue.
It's
The Yoren monologue.
Oh,
It really annoys me because I'm like, you bastards, you wrote the best scene in the episode that everyone's gonna come up to me and go, oh my god, my favorite part was the Yoren, and I'm gonna go, oh yeah.
yeah.
No, I had a scene in there that was from the book, or it's a scene between Arya and Hot Pie. And it's a scene I quite liked. It's where she's polishing needle and he's asking, you know, where'd you get that sword? And my brother gave it to me. Oh, I didn't know you had brothers. And it's a nice bit about Jon Snow
Right.
that I loved. And so we did the read through and everything went great. And I got the new pages just before we were starting to shoot, and that scene was gone, and there was a Yoren thing, and I hadn't read it yet, and I was like, no, you cut the hot pie scene, and David said, just read the monologue, and I read it and went, oh yeah.
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 Yep.
It's-
And it ends
That's
with one of my
kind
favorite
of incredible.
lines. I buried an axe so deep in Willem's skull.
They had to bury him with it. Yeah, I mean,
Great line.
it's an amazing
And
piece
he
of
nailed
writing
it.
that
and then he goes out like a champ.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He
I mean,
takes
I-
that
yeah.
arrow and
Oh
just
man, incredible.
takes down those Lannister guards.
Yeah.
I was watching this episode with my brother who was visiting in town, and I was just, he doesn't watch the show, and
Yeah.
he's like, wow, this is great. I like, literally like, yeah. He's like, you really like the show, don't you? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
kind
That's great. Yeah, I mean the Yoren. That was another thing where it was, you know, I mean the character is wonderfully drawn in the book, but I think the guys felt, and they were right, that you needed to learn a little bit more about him to give his death
Yeah.
all the more weight, and it sets up a few things that you'll see in future episodes. I don't want to spoil anything.
Sure.
With the talking of praying is paid off later, and you know, so.
Yes.
I
It's-
think
it's-
I know because I read the book.
Yeah,
but I
so
thought that
there's
was really
there's
so
that.
cool.
I'm covering my ears.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it also.
No, we won't say anything. We're not
It
gonna
served to
spoil
also
anything.
remind you of the you know the seminal moment in the show, which is the death of Ned, which
Right.
really
Yeah.
is you know.
He kind of
So-
took Arya under his wing a little bit.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean he
made
you
sure
know
she
I made sure you didn't see
see
that. Yeah. So,
And then you just feel her like,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
I'm here alone and I have to. I mean, she's in total survival mode.
Yeah.
I mean, Sansa's also in survival mode, but in a very different.
in a very different way.
Very
yeah.
different way.
But yeah, I nearly ruined uptake during the shooting of that scene because doing Arya's reaction shots, I was just jumping up and down. I was so excited because of the. If you watch it again and look at the little look she makes when he talks about I buried an axe about with the revenge, and you see that little killer in her. I mean, Maisie is just
Yeah.
astonishing.
Oh, no.
Yes.
I mean,
Astonishing.
I've
All the
read
kids
it.
are. I mean, everyone in the cast. Those
Yeah, there's
kids.
no weak links in the cast.
Those kids.
It's
Yeah.
a strong.
Yeah, no, I mean it's an embarrassment of riches.
I know.
Terrace Cauldron would
Terrace
like to
Cauldron,
know
these are
why
great.
no hot pie battle cry at the end of the episode.
Oh, okay. Well, that is one of my favorite moments from the book. That is one of my favorite moments from the book, the hot pie. I remember when we cast hot pie in season 1, I was like, yay, I can't wait for Ben to yell hot pie. And I is one of those, and then when I got assigned that episode, yeah, I get to write the scene where he yells hot pie.
Right.
And then I realized a few things. One, we never established on the show the yelling of where you're from when you go into battle.
Right.
2, our Arya is a little older and a little, I'm going to say a little wiser, is probably not going to give away her identity plausibly in the show. That's
Right.
up for debate, obviously, but I felt,
In the book, she yells
I don't
Stark.
think Maisie's Arya is going to yell Winterfell.
Right, Winterfell. Yeah, sorry.
So that and that scene, as you might know from reading the books, is a conflation of a bunch of different scenes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Originally, it was written to be more like the book, and that a lot of that stuff was supposed to happen in the next episode. But for a lot of reasons, we had to,
Yeah.
compress it.
yeah.
We had like 3 nights to shoot it. We have child hours we have to deal with, so
Right.
you only have a few hours to shoot with Maisie and with Ben, who played Hot Pie. We have a location that had walls you couldn't scale, so the scaling of the walls element of it was not there.
Right.
And so I had to adapt the scene in a certain way, and by the end, Hot Pie wasn't even in the fight.
Right.
So he couldn't yell hot pie. So I had to, in this job, you have to kill your foster babies, as I put it
Right.
in an interview the other day.
Yeah.
And believe me, what this is Cauldron. Who is this?
This was Terrace
Terrace
Cauldron.
Cauldron. No one was more hurt than I was to have to lose hot pie. But I stand by the decision.
Someone needs to make a GIF of that.
Hot pie. I seriously, it killed me. I had it, and I even had it in the draft. I thought maybe we can get away with it. It would have just been strange and confusing. It would only played to people who read the books, and we have to play to everybody.
Yeah.
So
I feel like, because in this episode, actually, Marjorie yells Highgarden.
that was the only time. Yeah.
It's like the first time they've done
It's only it was the first time they've done it,
Anybody,
and in
right?
fact, that was almost cut. I was actually surprised it made the cut.
Right.
I thought, oh well, she's doing it, but it wouldn't have been enough.
No,
to
I
make it make
definitely
sense.
agree with you. It's
But I
not
think
enough.
it helped link her to Highgarden.
Well, the
too,
other thing is
because-
Highgarden had never been mentioned.
Exactly.
So that it was more just to sort of introduce that House Tyrell as a force.
Right.
So anyway, sorry.
I think we have to
I try.
transition a little bit and talk about this is a very game-playing Game of Thrones episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
With a guy named Tyrion.
Ah, yes.
This
yeah.
scene is very skilled by
was fun.
playing some of the main characters that we established from the Small Council last year.
Yeah.
With Littlefinger and Varys and Pycelle, and then the decision to sort of show Tyrion in one episode, get all that information across. Now, am I wrong? This took a lot longer in the book.
It's spread out in the book. It's I don't remember exactly how, but if memory serves, it might even be in different chapters. Well,
Oh,
it
yeah.
might be one. I don't remember.
No,
but
I think it's
over a
the
couple.
beard
yeah,
scenario.
yeah, it's
that's
certainly, and
in-
it's a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
There's in the book he gives a sealed Raven scrolls to Pycelle that have the information about Dorne.
Right.
So stuff you can't read. It has to be verbalized in the show.
Absolutely.
And I think the lie he gives to Varys involves Tommen marrying somebody. And again, to
Right.
simplify it, it's Myrcella marrying these.
These
So
three
the Theon Greyjoy thing we made up. But
I like it.
yeah, that was so much fun to write. And Alec Sakharov, who is really the reason this episode works, like he's an incredible director. It was the biggest joy of my experience working on the show, working with him on this episode.
Oh, yeah.
He's just he was one of our principal DPs first season, and now is directing for us. And
Excellent.
he's astonishing. And we shot that scene in one day, and it was just a joy to watch, and it was to watch unfold. And Peter had a great time with it, and I love the small council scenes. I wrote one in
Yeah.
the first season.
I love them too, because that's when the game really,
Yeah, and
you really see it, and the dialogue is
Yeah, the
so-
only regret, it's just the nature of the show. I wish we had time to really do the big, the books small council scenes are these really long
Yeah.
kind of, and on the TV show they don't really, they wouldn't really play, so we have to truncate them a bit. But I love the small council characters, so
Yeah.
it was
They're all
so much fun, and those
fantastic.
actors are such terrific, character actors. So.
I think it's good because for me at least, when I read the books and then I watch the series, it kind of enhances what I've read. So
I hope
think
so,
it's,
yeah.
you can enjoy the kind of long drawn out small council scenes in
Yeah.
the books and
yeah, well, that's great. I'm
get
glad.
them kind of
Yeah.
I don't know.
I sort of think of it
solidified in
as
your
just
mind.
as two universes. You've got,
Yeah.
it's like in DC Comics, like the alternate universes. This is Westeros 2, where
Right.
it's generally the same story, but
But there's more sex.
where there's where there's sex position. But where Theon Greyjoy is 17 as opposed to 20. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like where there's just a different.
I was watching with my parents this time around. I was like, please don't.
Oh,
be there,
don't
the weird
watch with
sex.
your
Please
parents.
don't be-
Oh,
I was
I
visiting
know.
them. We
I
had to
get
watch. I
emails
was like,
all
so
the
what's
time.
the show?
I
I'm
was
like, please don't
watching
there be
this-
weird things.
I was watching this with my mother. I'm like, well, why were you watching it?
Yeah.
Don't watch
I
this
was like, no, go in the other room, watch your other thing.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's not
No.
my fault if you're watching this with your mother.
Yeah.
It's like you're out of your damn mind. What's
It
wrong
should
with
have at
you?
the beginning. It says, it's like strong language, brief nudity. Don't
Yeah,
watch
don't
this.
watch
Yeah, you
with
don't
your
watch
mother.
Don't watch this.
Don't do it.
M17.
You know,
For Mom, 17.
I can't be responsible for that.
Look, a bunch of questions relating
yes,
to
please.
Tyrion. How did you think of the way of doing the fantastic scene with Tyrion and the three small council members? How did you come up with that?
That was, I think, the structure of
That's
it.
Joan Arc, sorry. John Arc.
John Arc.
John Orc.
John Orc. We came up with it, in the writers' room. I think the original version of it was going to be in 3 different locations. So you'd cut from his room, and then he's walking in the garden, and then somewhere else. And that was how I originally wrote it. And then we decided it would be better to keep it in the one room, and that was great because we were able to do the little visual trickery.
Yeah, he goes, he gets the wine, turns around,
Yeah.
and it's
So it was a
nothing
collaborative thing. That's the thing. I'm happy to, take a lot of praise for the success of the episode, but TV is a collaborative. It's David and Dan's show. I help execute their vision. And we come up with the basic structure of the episodes all together in the room, and then I get to go write it, and then they look at it, and it's and then things happen on the set. The director has notes. You have it's everyone is in this episode.
How long do you get to write it? I know like sitcom usually it's like a 30-day thing. Sometimes you get to go off and you come
I
back.
think I had like on this one a couple weeks. Couple weeks.
Couple weeks, and you guys retable it after you do that, sort of, or is it?
No, then I just I write it and then give it to them, and they give me whatever notes, and I do another pass, and then but no, that's about it. Yeah, I mean, and it varies from season to season. With this season, we spent about 2 weeks in a room beating out.
Do you have a process when you're writing? Is it something you do late at night? Is it something you do early in the morning? What's your process?
Well, it's changed. Now that I have a child, it's changed. But when I wrote this, it was, I generally go to a public place, like a coffee shop or something, and I try to tackle one character at a time and get that all done. So I'll do Jon and get that out of the way, and then...
then sort of restructure.
And then I'll order the scenes once I've gotten them all. That helps. If you're going back and forth while writing, you go crazy. So I kind of take one character at a time.
It's interesting. It's kind of similar to the books.
Yeah. That's generally how we beat it out too. We say, okay, what's Jon's storyline through the whole season, and then it's like a puzzle. So that's how I did that. And then generally what happens is, the scene that I can't get right, or I'm afraid of, I save to the end, and that's generally written in a frenzied cramming thing the night before it's due.
What scene was the hardest in this episode to write?
Well, the last one I wrote was the Varys Tyrion scene, because we did not have the riddle in our original outline, and I had to get the riddle in. The riddle's from the book, and I could not figure out how to do it, and so that came last. The hardest to write though was the Jon Mormont scene at the beginning of the book. Because, as fans of the books know, Jon does not witness the baby being taken by a White Walker. And actually, the dialogue, much of the dialogue in that scene is from a similar scene in the book. It's just, it's charged with something different because Jon has seen this and they're being kicked out. So it's taking that basic information and some of that basic dialogue and, doing an undercurrent of what's happening. And that was hard to negotiate, and it was a lot longer originally, and it kind of got pared down, and I think it worked out pretty well. But that was a hard one to nail. And
do you have any favorite characters to write?
I love the kids.
Yeah.
That might just be because of my affection for those kids.
Yeah.
But I do love writing those. I got lucky with both my episodes. I got to have a lot of good scenes with them, and then I really love the Theon character and his whole arc in season 2. I love them all though. It's kind of hard to choose.
Sure.
Sansa got a little uppity in this.
Sansa. See, no one understands her.
I love Sansa. No, I know she gets a lot of hate, but I think she's in survival mode, like I said
she's in survival
earlier.
mode, and the scene with Shay, I think people are reacting kind of violently to the scene with Shay.
Because it's different from the book?
Well, it's very different from the book.
Yeah.
Very different from the book. Shay in general is different. But that scene in particular is about, it's about Sansa, she came to the capital with a certain idea about the way the world worked, and the only kind of person she can have any dominion over, dominion's the wrong word, but
control.
She's being control. She's being kicked left and right, and the handmaiden is the only person she can just sort of take it out on, and then this handmaiden is completely out of her element. So the scene isn't about her being bitchy to a handmaiden. It's about what she's bringing with her from that dinner scene. And I think Sophie I've nailed that.
I think she nailed it too. I think at the end of the scene, actually, she feels a little bad about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I think so. Yeah,
capitulates. Just
it's a lot more complex than just being
yeah,
bitchy.
She's not being, and who's to say she wouldn't have been that way before? But it's there's an undercurrent.
Meaning because of the dinner and how they're just so cruel to her and kind of tormenting her.
Oh yeah, I think it's in many ways the cruelest scene in the episode. I think the dinner scene.
Talking about killing her brother and marrying her father's killer.
No, it's just it's awful. It's horrifying. And I think so the Shay Sansa relationship you're going to see is something that plays out, but that's something we moved from book 3 to book 2.
I'm going to save a lot of these questions for the end because there's so many.
Okay.
This is great.
Sure, do whatever you got to do.
This one relating from Goatbed13.
Goatbed again.
Goatbed.
Goatbed's getting 2 in here.
From Japan, by the way.
Japan.
Goatbed13 from Japan.
My goodness.
I like to know why the scene with Shay becoming Sansa's handmaiden came so early.
Yes.
It's supposed to be in the 3rd book.
Wow.
Can you explain the reasoning behind
It's supposed to be in
What's
the
the
3rd book.
emoticon for this?
Yeah, go ahead,
Well-
go ahead and ask like this, but I just felt like...
No. Well, here's something. That, I actually like the way that he worded that, because it's not supposed to be anywhere. This is the TV show. So
Well said. Yeah.
I'm going to get so much hate
I
for
just
that.
felt
No,
like
I
he
think-
was written like comic book guy.
No. But that's the thing.
Simpsons,
This is the TV show, and we're not.
You're wrong.
The other thing that we're doing is, and this is important to stress, is while this might have been the plan originally, you can't think in each season as an adaptation of the book anymore. The first book, Game of Thrones, laid out kind of perfectly as 10 hours of television. I mean, almost to the point where every 80 pages there's an episode out that George
There's a smidgen of book 2 in it.
a smidgen, yeah, just a little bit.
Like one
But the books become, as everyone knows who's read them, much more sprawling, and we're taking it now as this is a television series based on A Song of Ice and Fire, and elements from different books will be moved as we feel is necessary to tell the story for television. So the 3rd season and the 4th season are going to have a lot of Storm of Swords spread out, and there might be bits of different books.
Well, because
in
2
there.
of the books happen at the same time. There's just so many
Also,
characters,
timelines
so it's
converge, so that'll happen.
timeline-
He
Yeah,
even
I mean,
explains
Yeah.
that in
Yeah.
the preface to
Sure.
the books.
Well, in
So,
Storm of Swords,
calm down,
actually,
people.
but in terms of this question, I don't want to give anything away, so it's hard to answer. But we wanted that relationship to happen earlier, basically, and we're doing some things with the relationship between the 2 of them. And there are a lot of factors that go into this sort of thing. A lot of it, some of it's budgetary. There's only so many sets you can build, and Shay is hidden off in a brothel, and there's a whole thing involving secret tunnels and rides into the city that would have been a large. That wasn't the only reason, but that's a factor.
Sure.
So the story changes are a mixture of creative and practical. And I think if people will enjoy, I think it's a very compelling, storyline that I hope people like. But it is different.
So we do this thing every episode, head count.
Head
so,
count, yes.
Let's just do it.
Let's go to head count.
Head count, graphic. What happens in the graphic? Someone loses their head?
This
Oh.
one's head gets,
Oh, up on this. Oh, the thing with the spike.
Yeah.
So this
Nice.
was
That's good.
not as bloody as other episodes, but we definitely had
That
some
was
people.
pretty bloody.
Well, there's one pretty big battle
Yeah.
Yeah,
scene.
you're right.
I mean, yeah,
There was no
so-
baby slaughtering.
No baby slaughtering.
child slaughtering.
No...
Child slaughtering. Oh, no, you
But-
got to carry me.
Oh man,
It was awesome.
Eros. I'm gonna miss Eros. He was awesome.
I thought
Eros
I
Vlahos, who
thought
played
he was
them.
gonna fake him out.
No,
thought it was
wait.
like- I was waiting for the fake out of like when the guy goes scary, he's gonna.
He's like, ha ha. Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
That's
Oh
what I thought.
wow.
No.
No, not on this show.
No,
No,
no.
Not
No,
on-
we're gonna stab the kid in the throat.
Not on this
Duh.
show. Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
No, I was watching it with some friends, and they were like, oh no, he's not going. Oh, I mean, it was
And they look
great.
at you and go, you bastard!
Yeah. It's like, I didn't do it. George did it. George did it. But we did add the touch that he did it with Needle, which is not
Yeah.
in the book.
Right.
That was
That was-
a
Now,
ghoulish.
am I-
George liked that. George was like, ooh, that's a great nasty
Yeah.
touch. I wish I'd thought of that.
With the helm, when Arya came out, she didn't do that in the book, did she?
No, that's
That was
that's
solid, man.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I wasn't sure.
No, I think
No,
it was
To be
I
great.
liked
honest,
it. I
so
liked
I'm
it.
glad.
It's left
I'm
too
gl-
much up in the air, I guess, for me in the book.
Oh,
Like,
okay, cool.
What's going on with Gary?
Good.
This is explained,
Yeah.
and it's also a nice bonding moment for them again.
Mm-hmm.
She got his back.
Well, that was part of it, and again because of a lot of the logistical things and story decisions we made. Arya isn't going into battle and into kill mode quite as early in the books
Right.
as she is in
Yeah.
the show, so we wanted to give her kind of a heroic moment there.
Yeah, she really.
I'm
she
glad
really
it worked.
kind
I'm glad it worked for you. I wasn't sure. I mean, that was a very hard sequence to write, and it
I
changed
bet.
a lot.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of balls I had to juggle, and so I'm very pleased with how it turned out. But it was a bear. That maybe it was the hardest.
I think
scene.
Yeah,
that's
that's
probably
right.
that's a hard section of the book I would imagine to adapt because there's a lot of time passes.
There is, and
You're
there's a
able
lot
to
of
compress it.
there's a lot of wandering.
There's a lot of
that's
walking
great when
and
you're
hiking
yeah,
and
and
woods
that's
and-
it's great and it's beautiful. I mean, some of it is I mean a lot of it. And it's great. I love. Listen, there's no bigger fan of the books than me.
Obviously,
I
yeah.
read them all the time.
Yeah.
So I have to love them.
So
Yeah, who
anyway,
else-
sorry.
else
Head
dies?
count.
died?
Head count.
So
Who died?
Gendry kills a Lannister guard.
Gendry killed a Lannister
Yeah.
guard. Did he kill him? I guess he did kill him, huh?
I didn't really see him
He-
get killed.
I think he
did
might have just beat him up.
Yeah, yeah.
Did
And
he
then
kill
of
him?
course Yoren kills a bunch of people before he
Yoren goes
himself
out
gets
swinging.
killed.
Yeah.
So he takes that arrow and then
Oh.
just he goes.
I always
Yeah.
hated crossbows.
Yeah. And Alec.
Takes too long to reload.
Yeah. Yeah. He's right. To all you crossbow people out there.
Yeah.
Too
You
long.
should probably carry a sword and a crossbow.
Yeah.
Just
Don't just
suggesting.
depend on that. Yeah, and the sort of warrior death with Amory Lorch coming with the thing, and that was all Alex, conception. And he loved doing that stuff.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
It just really sets it up. I mean, now Arya and Gendry are in this.
Yeah, they're on their
trapped. Own. They're on their own. Everyone.
I'm kind of looking forward to seeing Harrenhal.
I am too. I haven't seen it with all the visual effects and stuff,
Right.
so I'm excited. That was an amazing set. That's one of those sets that you walk on and you're like, well, how is this my job? I mean, how am I at work?
I can't wait to see.
I mean, it's just when you're a kid, and it's and again, Gemma just did this amazing Harrenhal courtyard set that will be enhanced with different effects and things. But it's I'm excited to see it.
It's just gonna be
on
like a total flip out when you put all that effort in as a team. You guys have written these episodes.
Yeah.
You need to see this cast come out and just knock it out of the park.
Oh yeah, and then
to
see it in post to see how it all. I see some of the rough cuts, but I hadn't seen it. That was the first time I'd seen it with Ramin's new score. The first time I'd heard the Greyjoy kind of themed under the baptism scene. I mean, it was such a thrill. Beautiful. Oh yeah, that was a great day. Yeah.
The lighting.
That's another
was
scene I
perfect.
love that doesn't have.
You
So
can tell they added
beautiful.
some extra light to kind of make
but it was.
It
I'm
looked really
not so
good.
sure I don't remember.
They
It
were
was a great day. Yeah, that was
That's
fun.
amazing.
Yeah,
Are we ready?
Full chat room of questions.
Sorry,
Oh,
we're just going on and on.
And just let us know when we want to do Skype.
Was that it with death?
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Wow.
We got.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
That was
it.
a comparatively.
Yeah, I mean,
Alright.
it was.
Wait, there wasn't there one that we
violent,
talked about? We
Yours.
missed one.
That's
Yeah,
it.
Yorin.
All right.
Yorin was the kind of the biggest.
That was the
That's a big one.
the big recurring death. Yes.
Okay, while we bring in Skype. Oh wait, I think we have a Skype guy. Here we go.
We have a Skype.
Okay.
A Skype guy.
We have a Skype
Hey,
question.
Skype guy.
Okay.
Are you there, Skyper?
He's a Skype.
I am indeed.
Why don't we should say his name?
What's his name?
Yes, please.
Yes.
You
have
can
it.
say your own name.
Atwell.
No. Yeah.
Okay. I'm Steve Atwell. I run Race for the Iron Throne, which does historical and political analysis of Game of Thrones.
Wow.
That sounds like you're smart.
Yeah, you sound a lot smarter than me.
Wait, Steven, we can barely see you though. Tilt your camera slightly down. There we go.
Historical analysis of game. Wow.
So you're
tell.
a PhD student at UC Santa Barbara. Is that correct?
Yep, I do the history of public policy, but as a historian, you do a little bit of everything. So this was kind of my natural way of expressing my fandom, was to relentlessly analyze, because that's really all I can do now.
Now, were
That's
you familiar with the books before watching the show, or?
I've read all of them at least 3 times.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Good.
Almost like you.
I've read them more than that. But,
Yeah. Wow.
But I won't be able to do what he's about to do.
Yeah. So you can name a historical equivalent to every Game of Thrones character. Is that correct?
To the major ones.
The major
Right.
ones. Okay, we have a list here. Of,
So if I throw Mord the Jailer at you, there's no historical.
Well, it's like, there could be a random jailer in like
Well, that's true.
Cellars, but like
That's true.
who knows his name,
Yeah. That's yes. That's cool. Let's do it. Wow.
Pick
That's.
pick
Oh,
one
am I?
from his list,
Yeah.
and then-
What do we
and then
have
we'll all
here?
go do one.
yeah.
It was the word. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So who do you feel the historical equivalent to Stannis Baratheon is?
That's interesting.
The great.
I have a funny one for Stannis Baratheon. I think he's a cross between George Washington and Ho Chi Minh. In that,
Obviously.
George
Wait.
Washington and Ho Chi Minh.
Go for it. Tell us why.
please.
in that he's absolutely determined to win his war, will do whatever it takes, but at the same time, he's got this mix of absolute ruthlessness and high idealism. And that's what I find interesting, is that he's sort of on the edge between heroism and villainy. And,
Sure.
Ho Chi Minh stuck it out for, decades, and 5 million Vietnamese died in that war.
Yeah.
George Washington was willing to attack on Christmas, and was known among the Native American tribes as he who burns villages.
Wow. George.
So that's my take on Stannis.
That's fascinating.
That's really
And you know what's
cool.
Stephen Delane, who plays
Yeah.
Stannis, he has wooden teeth.
Get out of here.
No, I'm kidding. That's not true. I'm sorry, Stephen. Stephen does not have wooden teeth.
Okay.
That's really cool. Wait,
That was too convincing.
do I get to read another one?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Man.
Well, okay, let's stay with that, because this is so Melisandre. Now, who's your equivalent for Melisandre?
Melisandre is like a cross between. And I know I'm doing a lot of crosses, but
That's
I have
okay.
to make it work. between Rasputin and Mata Hari.
Yes. Okay. No,
Wow.
Rasputin. That definitely has come up in discussions. Yes.
Yeah.
That's fast. That's great. Now, and how
It's a
so?
mix of like religious fanaticism, this kind of intensely magnetic presence, and then also this kind of femme fatale sexuality, kind of both at work at once.
Yeah. Yeah. An aversion to poison.
Yes.
You know. Yeah.
She
That's
can't be killed.
can't be killed. That's really cool, man. That's cool.
That's awesome.
How about Tyrion?
Tyrion, I described as a cross between Richard III and Claudius. Have you guys seen I, Claudius, the BBC
Sure.
series?
And I tell you, George R. R. Martin is an enormous fan of I, Claudius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they both have a similar thing going, which is because of their disability, they're not taken seriously within their own family, which, given the like internal family dynamics, helps them survive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they both have this immense intellect and capacity for administration. And unfortunately, because of their disabilities, they get this really bad press. You know,
Yeah.
Richard III, what do we think about him? He's a murderous hunchback.
Yeah. And
You
that's
know,
and that's a lie.
Yeah, it's a
Perpetrated
lie.
by
In
the
reality,
Tudors.
He's an amazing king who died, you know, really unluckily.
Yeah.
Wow. That's,
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, George would love this because George. I mean, George took, you know, and he'd be the first to tell you he took these real historical events in a lot of cases and made them bigger, as he sometimes puts it. You know, that's definitely, you know, a Stark, Lannister, York, Lancaster.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who else we got?
What about Littlefinger?
Littlefinger is a lot like Thomas Cromwell, not the guy who executed the king, but Thomas Cromwell, if you remember this from the Tudors, was you know, one of Henry VIII's buddies. He came from absolutely nowhere. I mean, his father was like a minor spice merchant in London. He was a cockney, and he was really good at like rubbing two coins together and getting three.
Right.
That's how he rose through the ranks and got him into the you know, made him. He ended up as Earl of Essex, which is, you know, kind of as high up a commoner can go, by helping to arrange Anne Boleyn's marriage. So, like Littlefinger, his ability to broker deals and his ability to make a lot of money are his saving graces, but he has this Achilles heel of being relatively lowborn. I mean, Thomas Cromwell was absolutely despised by the court and, ironically, the common people, because they thought he was too lowly to be the Chancellor of England.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Okay,
Amazing.
we have one more. Do you
One
wanna,
more.
do you
One
wanna
more.
choose
Okay.
one more?
Let's do a really wacky one.
Daenerys or Drogo?
And Steve, you have on your site, is it raceforitheironthrone.com?
It's racefortheironthrone.wordpress.com.
Okay. Well, we'll
That's
throw that
fantastic.
link up on Twitter and Facebook.
And we'll put
Yeah.
it up on
Sweet.
YouTube.
Well,
Awesome.
let's go for the last one. How about Khal Drogo?
That's cool.
Khal Drogo is Attila the Hun.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's
I guess that was
Yeah.
an easy
I was
one.
gonna guess that.
Never mind. Let's go. That's easy. That's good enough. Never mind. I was. How about?
There's an interesting reason for this one.
Okay.
Which is that Attila the Hun got engaged to the Emperor of Rome's sister in exchange for him reconquering Gaul.
Wow.
And
I didn't know that.
like Khal Drogo, he died very unexpectedly, right? Khal Drogo dies because a tiny cut gets infected,
Yeah.
right? Attila the Hun got really, really drunk and then suffered a nosebleed, but he was passed out. So he ended up choking to death on his own blood.
Wow.
Oh my God.
No kidding.
That sounds like something George Martin wrote, didn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I don't know much about Attila the Hun, so
Yeah.
wow. That's
Sounds
really
like a
cool,
lot of
man.
60s rockers.
right.
Those Jimi Hendrix, Keith Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was bars.
He's a cross between Attila the Hun and Keith
Not a
Moon.
nosebleed.
Yeah.
That's amazing,
Well,
man.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
that was
can't
fun.
wait to check out your site, and everyone should go check it out.
Yeah.
Really
Yes,
fascinating.
do.
So,
Race for the Iron Throne, right?
yeah.
.wordpress?
.wordpress.com.
Awesome. Thanks very
Follow
much,
us on
guys.
Thank
Facebook
you.
and put that up
Hey,
there.
that's cool.
That was incredible.
George Washington and Ho Chi Minh.
I love that.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, for
Yeah, that
sure.
was pretty
Wow.
interesting.
Amazing.
Meanwhile, 20 more new comments.
Oh,
boy.
boy.
They're like, Ho Chi Minh.
Should we-
What's he talking
Should
about?
we try to hit some of these?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, you know, why not?
Yeah.
Somebody asked if this was his PhD dissertation. Okay, that guy was knowledgeable, man.
It was not my
Whoa.
PhD dissertation. That was you're talking about him. Okay.
Does anybody speak Spanish? We've got a couple people from Mexico,
I
and they're
do
going,
not
do you speak
speak
Spanish?
Spanish.
Like,
No hablo español.
I
no
speak
tengo
a little
idea de
Dothraki.
donde estoy ni cómo llega acá. Okay.
I don't
I
know
heard-
what that. If someone's
I heard
listening,
You know
here.
Spanish, right?
translate.
All right, let me get down to these. I love the. I'm gonna just read these. So if I.
Yeah,
Go
it's
for it,
just.
This is from Alas Libertine. I love the quick but loaded mention of House Martell in this episode. R.E. Carsey on Tyrion sending Myrcella to
Yes,
Dorne.
Myrcella
God,
to
these
Dorne,
names.
yeah.
I gotta be honest.
It's all right.
If I mispronounce, I'm so bad at catching up
Myrcella,
with
it's,
names.
no, Dorne is the southernmost of the Seven Kingdoms, and
Can we expect more hints, groundwork about the Martells in S2 heading towards season 3?
A little bit more, I think. A little bit more. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a tricky thing. You have to pick and choose where you thread these bits of mythology, and you don't want to overload it. And there are also choices that need to be made in future seasons about who exactly we're gonna, how we're gonna adapt certain storylines. So you don't want to. You have to be. It's very tricky, and you have to
It
sort
could
of pick
be
and choose.
Hard. Maybe if you have too many characters, it's probably easy to lose some of them. So that's why you guys are.
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
why
I don't.
That's where the adaptation comes in.
Sure,
When
and
you put Shay together with Sansa.
Yeah. I mean, and you conflate certain characters, and no, I love the Martells, and I love that whole storyline. But for instance, the line was the Martells loathe us. Now, if you've read the books, you know exactly why. We've chosen not to really explain why that is yet, because we ought to save that for when it really matters, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's
Otherwise, it's just a lot of
Well,
information.
we don't explain it for a while.
All you really need to know right now, though, is that the
Martell.
Martells loathe them, and this will help if you send Myrcella, and that's what the audience needs to know.
All right.
I think it's more fun for
Yeah.
rewatching too. So when people after they,
Yeah.
let's say
Hopefully.
they watch season 3,
Yeah.
they go back to season 2 and they say, oh yeah, they
Yeah.
kind of set that up.
Yeah.
I will try to get to these, but as I'm reading these, 24 new comments showed up. A lot of fans.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is the
knives
guy who
are out.
baptized Theon his uncle Arion?
That
If
is not
so-
Aaron. No, that is
It's
not
not- I was
Aaron.
wondering that too.
That is not Aaron. That is not the damn fair. We had Aaron in there in an original draft. I actually had him introduced in my episode, and it was too much. We needed to keep the focus on Theon and his choice and his relationship with his father and his sister. So that is an ND, as you say in scripts, a nondescript drowned priest.
I just thought it was him. I just assumed.
Yeah, it would be. I would love to have Aaron in it eventually, but we haven't really decided, everything. But I would say just because a character hasn't appeared, it doesn't necessarily mean he or she won't be in the show, but it might.
Right.
So if in some cases we're saving characters for later, in some cases we're cutting, in some cases we're conflating, But that's all I can really say about that. But no, that is not Aaron.
Oh,
that is not
okay.
Uncle Aaron.
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
All right. I love Varys' monologue about power.
Yes.
Power resides
So
where
good.
men believe it
That's
resides.
George R. R. Martin.
What kind of relationship are you trying to establish between Varys and Tyrion?
Oh, that's great. I mean, I would say, and
Red button, sorry. Big red button.
big red button. I mean, you'll see it play out over the season, so I don't want to say too much, but I would say that it's Varys is finding in this hand of the king someone he can work with, and Tyrion is finding someone he thinks he can work with, and that's where
I
that's
just
where
love
it's going.
the theme of power that comes
Yeah.
throughout all of the episodes.
Well, I think that's one of the most brilliant pieces of writing from the books is that idea that power, it's a trick, a shadow on the wall. I think the quote from the book is it's a mummer's trick,
Right.
but
Yeah.
thought that might not play to all the people watching.
Right.
Sure.
So, but I loved that bit in the book, and it's a in the book he asks him the riddle and then has the conversation about the answer 3 chapters later.
Sure.
And it's a whole thing, and I thought, God, I really want to get it in, and thankfully I was able to, we were able to put it in there. But I love that scene. That was a great day. It was a fun day to watch the two of them together, sparring. It's
Right.
and I'm an actor myself, so I just watching.
It reminded me a little of the scene last year, which was one of the best scenes with Littlefinger and Varys. When they have
Oh, those
double
are amazing.
entendre. I mean,
Yes.
it was
Oh.
like brand new Shakespeare.
No, David and
Oh.
Dan.
Oh.
David and Dan just knocked it out
That
of the
was
park with
I love-
those.
that's-
Those are
yeah,
the
that's
highlight of the show.
Right.
Yeah, and again, that's something where we can do this. We can show them having a private conversation. We're not bound by the POV structure.
Right.
I love those scenes.
Yeah.
Love them. Yeah.
This is me. So you said a few times that you act. Have you ever written a scene you're like, I should be that?
All right. Well, here's the thing.
that should be my role.
I'm actually glad this came up because this was all just a way for me to get acting work. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought, okay, if I'm a writer's assistant on a show, maybe one day I'll get, and then all of a sudden I'm writing it. I don't know what I'm doing here, people. I trained as an actor at Juilliard. I mean, if there's any shows out, that are casting, I do accents.
Guys only writing for Game of Thrones.
But no. To answer the question, I tried to. First season, you might remember there was a character called the King's Steward, who would come in and be like, Lord Stark, the small council is meeting, and he did a little, little bits of announcing, Lady Sansa of House Stark.
Right.
So as I was reading the scripts, I thought, ooh, I can play the King's Steward.
Sounded like you really could.
I was like, that's perfect, because I've only done my one acting credit on I've done lots of stage work, but my only on-camera credit is a pervy mailman on Mind of Mencia. I'm not a snob, but
I knew I recognized you.
when I was studying Ibsen, that wasn't. So I thought, okay, good. Well, I think they'll give me that part. It's not a major role, and I can work my way in that way. And then just as I'm about to gather up the courage to ask if I can play that part, David says, "Hey, guess who's playing the King's Steward? Robert Stern." And Robert Stern's one of our casting directors, who's also an actor, a RADA-trained actor, great actor. And I thought, oh, that's great.
He just casted himself.
He's going to be terrific.
You should have gone
in it. So I thought, okay, lost that role. Second season, there's a character in the book named Meister Pylos, who is the Maester at Dragonstone. And in the book, he's the one writing that letter that Stannis is dictating. I'm like, Meister Pylos. I'm never going to play a knight on this show. Look at me. I play a maester, though. And so I thought, I'm going to play Meister Pylos. And then I get the draft, and they gave those lines to Mathos. So I'm like, oh, okay. So anyway, hasn't happened yet.
But it will.
One day.
Hopefully.
We'll start a petition for you.
Yeah.
Yes, that was really, again, it's all part of my
Get
plan.
Bryan acting.
Somebody would like to pay and support this show right now that we're watching.
Whoa!
I was like, all right.
Hey,
We do have a PayPal button on streaminggarage.com.
That's
I'll give
exciting.
a little plug.
There you go.
From Australia, so thank you.
Thanks.
Here's a good one. Brian asked DMore142.
Okay.
Does it make you feel at all uncomfortable writing all those sex scenes?
No, I mean I don't know if I would say uncomfortable. They're difficult to. I mean, you're writing them, and you think the first one I wrote for the show
was 42 pages long.
Right, was very detailed. No, the first one I wrote for the show was actually it was a version of a scene that ended up in one of David and Dan's episodes, episode 3 of season 1. It was a scene between Cersei and Jaime, and it didn't end up being a sex scene once it was rewritten by the guys. But I remember writing the sex act stuff, and I was like, how do you describe it? And I went on I was like, maybe I can look at a romance novel site because that just bodice ripping stuff. And so I was like, okay, I guess that is how you would write that particular thing.
I can't imagine the Theon one on the ship.
The Theon. Oh yeah, well that's from the
that's-
book at least. So.
yeah,
But no, so in terms of sex scenes, I haven't written that many though, have I? I mean, the Marjorie one isn't really a sex scene per se.
Right.
No.
Did I have any sex scenes in my first season episode? Like sex scenes? No, I haven't had to write the peeping Tom scene, and that's, I leave that to my bosses.
Well, we should mention that. I don't think we did it. And you wrote in season 1, Cripples,
Bastards, and Broken Things. Yeah.
That, and I'm not just saying. I've always said the scene that really made me go, "Oh my God, I love this show."
Yeah.
And that was episode 3. You said, right?
4.
4. Okay. Is the exchange between Theon and Tyrion.
Oh yeah. That scene, that was the last
next
scene.
tumble with rolls is on me.
Is on me. I'll try not to wear it out.
Right?
Yeah, that was the last scene I wrote for that episode. We wrote that months after we finished shooting episode 4. I actually wrote that in Malta when we were shooting later in the season because the episode was actually running short, and we realized, speaking of Theon, we knew Theon has an enormous role in the second season. In the books, he's largely in the background in the first book. I mean, very much more so than he even is in the first season of our show. And we realized in order to make it work for TV, we need to give him more to do and get his backstory out a little bit. So that scene was a chance to to introduce him early. I believe it's the first time you learn anything about his backstory, like why he's there, the fact that his father led a rebellion. And
Stupid rebellion.
A stupid rebellion. And it gave us a chance to have two characters that don't really talk at all in the books have a scene. So it worked. And yeah, that was a fun scene. That was a really fun scene to write.
Yeah, and I think at that time, Peter Dinklage had just been nailing every scene, and that was when I just decided this guy's getting the Emmy.
Really? Oh, wow.
And then he did.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That's a little scene. So I'm glad you like that. Yeah, that's fun.
All right.
I don't remember what the question.
See.
Oh, sex,
lots
right?
and
Yeah.
lots more. Do you feel like Littlefinger of the show is different from the books, and how so? Asks Blue Chew Penguin.
Yeah, I think he's probably a little different. In some ways, I think part of that is the nature of the adaptation. Giving him scenes that are from his point of view. Aiden also brings a specific sort of. It's hard to put into words, but a sort of persona to it that.
It's like a wily stoicism.
Ooh, wily stoicism. Wily, that's wow.
You've been saving that one up.
You have.
Yeah.
You were
I
hoping
have.
this would come up.
I was like, this is my moment, guys. This is my crowning moment.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I hope we've been true to the character of the books, but I would say he's a little different. Yeah, not better, not worse. I hope, but different. Yeah, and he's also not short. So that's why we had that line in my episode. I was short as a child because he's not short. But yeah.
Let's see.
Well, we've certainly made his proprietor of brothel thing a much bigger deal than in the book. Yeah, for sure. There's a little more Al Swearingen in there, maybe. I don't know. Deadwood reference. I don't know.
You got any other questions, Mike?
Yeah, you did.
Anybody from the room in here? We've got a lot of people in here who are fans.
Well,
but yes,
you know.
I'm still looking through all these.
Are you looking through a bunch? Okay.
Well, one thing is our producer, Elaine, over here, last night was talking to Dave Peterson, the guy who created, the Dothraki language.
He's a
Who will be on here in
is he going to be
2
on?
weeks. Yeah, he's
Oh,
going to be here in 2 weeks.
I mean, that's incredible because
he's a genius. He's ridiculous.
It's pretty amazing.
He's ridiculous.
And
It's amazing.
he told Elaine that he had created a Dothraki word for you based on your name.
For me?
For you.
Oh.
And it is.
This is exciting.
Apologies, Dave, if this is wrong, but Ifi Cogman, which means flawless victory.
Wow. Wow. Dave.
That's
That's
a friend.
Ifi Cogman?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can see how
Look
it's
at that.
with a K.
That's I'm touched. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Take a couple more questions because there's way too many.
I'm working that into the script now.
Yeah.
We will go on YouTube and try to ask these, try to answer these. I don't know if you have any spare time. If you happen to, feel free to go on our YouTube page as well. And Brian,
Oh,
maybe
sure,
can
yeah,
answer.
sure.
Because there
I'll
are a
check
lot of questions.
Yeah,
we will
yeah,
try
I
to
mean,
reply to
Or
them.
you can follow him at Bryan Cogman.
Oh, don't tell them that. Oh, God. I'm gonna have to,
Here's an interesting.
I got work to do.
Terrace Cauldron asks, has
Cauldron.
Roy Daltrey's, is that correct? Narration of characters.
Roy
in the
Dotrice, yeah.
Audiobook influence your writing? Have you actually checked them out? Or if you have they influenced your writing?
I listened to some of the first book, but no. I mean, not nothing against it, but I just didn't really listen to the audiobooks much. So, I know that Vanessa Taylor, our co-exec who joined season 2, I believe she listened to most of the books on tape. Roy's amazing. He was originally supposed to play Grand Meister Pylos and had to drop out because he was ill. And Julian Glover, who's amazing, took over. But Roy is on the show this year as Helene the Pyromancer, who you'll meet in a couple episodes.
Awesome.
Can't
and it
wait
was
for
such
that.
an honor to have him. I mean, and George and he are very good friends. He's read all of the books. Oh no, he didn't read Feast for Crows, but he read the other ones. He worked with George back on Beauty and the Beast, the old 80s TV show. George was a writer.
Right,
George was a writer on that show.
Oh.
Yeah, and Roy played the
Amazing.
father beast guy. So that was a real thrill to have him on the show. But no, personally, no, I wouldn't say it influenced my writing of it. But
Here's one to sort of end on after we'll have maybe
Okay.
one more. This is a real easy one. Can you talk about the mediation on the illusion of power and its juxtaposition with Cersei exercising actual power when she shoves Tyrion in a fit of rage, reducing him to the small man he really is?
ooh. Well, I tell you,
Thanks, Mom. I know you want.
I'm glad you asked.
My English teacher wants to know.
The way I don't really approach writing the show thinking about that kind. I just sort of write the scene and write the story and what the characters want within the scene, if that makes sense. I leave that to the smarter people. I will say that moment, if we want to talk about that moment, was one of those amazing things that happens when you're shooting that was not scripted. It was just what was happening in the moment with the two of them in that take. It was one of those, I remember very specifically, it was one of those moments where you're watching and the entire room just went, you know, it was just so raw. Lena and Peter are very good friends, and they had amazing time together this past season because they have a lot of scenes together, and I think they feel as actors very safe with one another to really go there emotionally, and that was just, you know, an incredible take that we managed to get, and that's why it's on the show, because it was perfect. But I didn't write it.
That's amazing to hear that kind of backstory, because it is this moment, and then the camera kind of pulls back, and you're like, you know, you just see.
No, I mean,
Kyle
you're just
shot, and you just see him.
Well,
kind
and
of
the reaction's very real. I mean, Peter, I'm sure, was thrown by it. He wasn't expecting
He
it.
was like, wow.
I don't know that Lena expected to do it until she did it. I can't speak to what's in their heads, but you know, movie magic.
We got one more.
Sure.
A big fan of ours, comes to all our shows, watches all our shows online that you can as well in Streaming Garage. A little plug. Venice Riley would like to know. She says, "Love the intro of Marjorie and Dormer delivered. Any chance she would hook up with Brienne? Would love that."
Well, I can't comment on future episodes.
All right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's a good one to end on, right?
So we have another question for us. We saw you tweet a plug for your brother's new CD.
Oh, yes.
The other day, and
wow.
would you like to give him a shout out here?
Well,
in the show?
sure. Thanks. That's awfully nice. Yes, my brother, singer-songwriter Mark M. Cogman, and his new album is called Anthems, and it's available at bandcamp.com. I don't remember the exact little
Follow
hashtag.
him on Twitter.
We'll put it up, but you go and it's
That's nice.
his first album's on iTunes, which is called Welcome to the Danger Show, which is great. But he wanted to put this one up as a name your own price thing so everyone could get it. So
That's awesome.
pay $1, pay 50, pay whatever, but get it. It's a great album. I'm really proud of him. He's insanely talented. So
Talented family.
I hope so. You know. But thanks. That's nice.
Fantastic.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you everybody who's watching, asking questions, following us on Twitter and Facebook, and we have some really awesome shows coming up, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Jane Espazin coming up.
Oh, is Jane going to be here?
Jane is here in 2 weeks.
Great.
She will be here, and
She's a terrible drunk. Just be careful.
She's like so sweet.
Oh no, she's
we're gonna have goblets of wine.
soused
next time.
constantly. And
I'm actually in favor of that.
She gets very handsy.
For really quick, if you don't know who Jane is, wrote Golden Crown. Was that the episode?
Yes,
she wrote?
Jane wrote episode 6 with David and Dan called A Golden Crown, and of course, Firefly, Buffy, Battlestar Galactica,
She's
Caprica.
badass.
Yep.
She wrote my favorite episode of Firefly. I mean, she's a genius. I don't remember the name of it now. It's the one where they go to the fancy dress party.
Yep.
I can't remember the title now, but she's amazing. And it was a lot of fun.
And then I'll just, if I can, I'll bug a bunch of the actors on Twitter, and who knows, maybe they'll Skype in.
Maybe.
Try.
Yeah.
I had a great time. I mean, they said this was going to be terrible, but
What?
but
Who's
no,
they?
But
Who are they?
really, it was a lot of
mediocre.
It was just slightly better than terrible. No, it was
And
this was a lot of fun.
You gotta
Thank you
take
so
the
much.
throne home with you.
Oh, is this my party?
That's your
You don't get it.
Lannister.
I don't know. Starks.
I know.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
the
you're a Stark guy.
Starks all the way. No, thanks for having me. This was a lot of
Oh,
fun.
thank you so much for being here.
No, I thank you.
See you next week on Stupid for Game of Thrones. I'm Bob Jennings.
Sarah Penna.
Good night, people.